Hello friends, Bloo here. Now, I can't lie to you, the winter blues has got to me. It doesn't help very much that the Dutch landscape is flat as fuck. We've experienced a little flooding over here, which means my precious cabin in the woods is now my little boat lost at sea. Shit sucks, I can't lie. Since I've been so down, I've been listening to a lot more Midwest Emo music recently. It's a subgenre of emo which has roots in hardcore punk and math rock scenes of the 1990s. So let's find out more. This is an idiot's guide to Midwest Emo.
I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole! You know what I mean? Birmingham is a fucking shithole! I hate the fucking place!
Midwest Emo branched off as a subgenre of emo music in the mid-90s, gaining its name for the fact that the bands within it originated from the states in Midwest America. But let's be honest, the key states here in the Midwest are Michigan, Illinois, Minnesota, and Ohio. The other states? Completely irrelevant. Ignore those. This video was brought to you by Bloo Bias. We love spreading misinformation. Anyway, Midwest Emo became known for its strange guitar riffs and angsty vocals mostly about college-age relationships, as well as other topics such as your growing sense of dread for that assignment due 6 months ago, or will you be able to get your weekly supermarket shop, or will you be living off tinned beans for the next 2 months? Shit, I got a little carried away. Anyway, Midwest Emo has grown beyond bands in the Midwest anymore, due to the subgenre's gradual growth and popularity, meaning that the American Midwest now only has farming and a crippled automotive industry to claim as their own. So let's take a look at some Midwest Emo bands, starting off with Cap and Jazz were formed by brothers Tim and Mike Kinsella in Chicago, Illinois in 1989. Coming off at the tail end of first wave emo, which originated in Washington DC between 1985 to 1989 with bands such as Ian MacKay's Embrace and Rites of Spring, the band would record singles and do small shows across Chicago and the rest of the Midwest until 1995, when they released their first and only album. Wait, hold on, let me try read this in one go. Inspiration Point, Fork Balloon, Sports, Cards in the Spokes, Automatic Biographies, Kites, Kung Fu, Trophies, Banana Peels we've slipped on, and Eggshells we've tippy-toed over. Or Schmap and Schmaz for short, because you can't even abbreviate the original title. This act of pretentiousness would also be shamelessly copied by Fall Out Boy in 2005, showing that the third wave emo is truly a soulless husk masked with eyeliner and extremely long bangs. Anyway, the band would break up later in July 1995 due to arguments created after drummer Victor Villarreal had a non-lethal overdose, which caused the rest of their 1995 tour to be cancelled as a result. A compilation album called Analphabeta Pathology would later be released 3 years after the band's breakup by Jade Tree Incorporated, which consisted of unreleased tracks and demos, and later leading to a quiet period until the band reunited in 2010 to play a handful of local shows in Chicago. However, whilst it was Cap and Jazz that took the first baby steps to Midwest Emo starting, it took Mike Kinsella's second band to kick the door down for the subgenre to get worldwide recognition, and that band is American Football were a short-lived band active between 1997 and 2000. Formed in Urbana, Illinois by former Cap and Jazz vocalist Mike Kinsella and Steve Holmes, who had both been good friends since high school, and drummer Steve Lamos, which would form the original lineup, would go on to release an EP in 1998, followed up with their famous self-titled album, also known as LP1, which would include a little-known song called Never Meant, which went something like this. The track would become most people's introduction to Midwest Emo today, as it's now become one of the most famous and critically acclaimed tracks in the genre. Whilst the band would mutually break up the following year, LP1's popularity would continue to grow, along with the popularity of Midwest Emo as a result. The house from LP1, in fact, would become a pilgrimage spot for the most dedicated of fans. And if anybody else is going to the Urbana area to visit this little piece of history, please make sure to be respectful to the owners of the house, as whilst they're comfortable to have people show up to take pictures outside, it's still their privacy and their livelihood, so please make sure to be respectful. Anyway, the band would reform in 2014 with Mike's cousin, Nate Kinsella, joining to play bass for the band, going on to play a handful of live shows and release American Football 2 in 2016 and American Football 3 in 2019. Steve Lamos would also leave the band in 2021 due to changes in his life affecting his ability to play in the band. After that, the band has been quiet since, with Mike Kinsella branching into other ventures and projects in the meantime. time, but there's always potential for a fourth album. Despite American football's short-lived golden era, which would also mark the end of first wave Midwest emo, the release of American Football 1 opened up the floodgates for second wave to begin and grow in the turn of the century, leading to influence artists in states outside of Midwest America. So let's take a look at a few second wave bands, starting off with Modern Baseball was, a very heavy emphasis on the was by the way, as you'll come to learn with most Midwest emo bands, formed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 2011, consisting of members Bren Lukens, Jake Ewald, Sean Huber, and Ian Farmer. They'd go on to release their debut album Sports in 2012, followed up with their most successful album to date, You're Gonna Miss It All in 2014, and their final album, Holy Ghost in 2016. They'd later announce an indefinite hiatus in 2017. Despite a small discography and the likelihood of no reunion ever growing, Modern Baseball managed to make a large impact in second wave Midwest emo, signing to famous alternative label Run for Cover Records, and getting the opportunity to tour with larger emo bands such as Brand New, Joyce Manor, and the Front Bottoms. As said prior, You're Gonna Miss It All would become their most successful project in their 6-year career, with the lead single, Your Graduation, gaining 11 million views on YouTube and 62 million plays on Spotify as of January 2023. I distinctly remember the first time I heard Your Graduation, in fact, as it was the song that got me into this band. It was lockdown 2020, and I'd been listening to pop punk whilst playing old school RuneScape, when the YouTube algorithm decided to bless me with this gem at random. Without hearing this song, I wouldn't have been put onto Midwest emo in the first place. In fact, despite their breakup, Modern Baseball has become a cornerstone to modern Midwest emo, along with another band, that being Title Fight was originally formed in 2003 in Kingston, Pennsylvania, consisting of twin brothers Ned and Ben Russin on bass and drums, and Jamie Roden on guitar and vocals.
I'm Jamie from Title Fight, and I was introduced to
They'd later acquire Shane Moran in 2005 as well. The band would produce a handful of demos and EPs primarily focusing on a pop punk and hardcore sound until they were signed to Run for Cover Records in 2008, leading to the release of their debut album, The Last Thing You Forget, followed up by their critically acclaimed albums Shed and Floral Green in 2011 and 2012, Spring Songs EP in 2013, and their final album Hyperview in 2015. The first 3 albums taking an inspiration from punk, hardcore, and Midwest emo bands such as The Promise Ring, with the final album, Hyperview, focusing on a slower shoegaze sound. However, most people immediately think of Shed or Floral Green when discussing Title Fight, especially a little known track called Head in the Ceiling Fan. One of the most heart-wrenching tracks of the 2010s, which has recently began resurfacing online on platforms such as TikTok, with original fans of Title Fight now being in their late 20s to early 30s, reminiscing on what was in the past before the band's 2018 hiatus, much like any Midwest emo song. In conclusion, I hope you learned something about Midwest emo today, and some of its most popular bands. Whilst many of them don't exist anymore, their legacies still live on, and inspire other upcoming bands in the genre, which I highly recommend you take the time to listen to and support if you come across them. Anyway, I'm stuck out in the ocean right now, and need to find a paddle. Goodbye, friends.